What is up, guys? Brendan here, back with another tutorial, and today we are actually going to be playing around with some CSS and JavaScript. Yeah, look at that. And you may be asking, where did you come up with this idea? I actually didn't come up with it. I was actually on the Unicast forums and I saw this post where Rails Dev 77 was actually asking how to do this effect in JavaScript or jQuery, and it was actually very simple. I actually told him I was making a video on it, and I sent him the pin, which we have right here. And actually, close those out. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at how to create this on your own. And we are using jQuery just because I did see he wanted to do it in jQuery, and I don't know if he's actually using full raw JavaScript or if he doesn't mind, having the jQuery. But either way, it's simple enough to do in either pure vanilla JavaScript or jQuery. So let's go ahead and take a look at the code. So it's very simple. Now, if you don't know how the filter blur works, it actually works by blurring every element. It works by blurring every element that it's attached to and every child of that element. So if we put this button right here that is making this happen, you're going to see it blurs out. Now, if he wants that effect, that's fine. But the reason I didn't do this is, for one, it would blur out, and it's a lot more complicated to unblur it when it's already been blurred, I think. I've never really tried that. But this is the approach I decided to take on it. One, because I knew it'd be the simplest, probably be the easiest way to do it. Like when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, the blur effects work this way. That's why he put that there. So yeah, so the background blurs out, all the content under blurs out. So what we have here is we have an anchor tag with a class of button and an ID of click. Now we're using the ID in JavaScript, and we're using the class in CSS. I mean, you could really use the class also in JavaScript or whatever, but I just wanted to. This was actually originally supposed to be a click, but then I remembered he wanted it to be a hover. So all we're doing is we just using the jQuery to target these and then make some CSS events fire off by adding the CSS. So this content wrap is this background image, this text, this div with a border and all that, but you'll see all that in the CSS. I actually got this button idea though from this pin, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. I did change the button up a second ago because I didn't like the way the button looked. So I guess I can technically take this out. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and take it out. I'm not using his buttons. That sounds weird. So yeah. So we got a little button and all that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the CSS. So, okay, I'm just doing this just to kind of let the demo look a little bit better, because if I don't do body overflow hidden, it's going to give me some scroll bars, and I don't want that. But this right here, let me divide this code up. Okay. So this body you don't really have to worry about. It's just to kind of keep it contained without any scroll bars. A lot of this you might have to play with just to kind of get it to work for what you want. It's not really I mean, it works right out of the box, but you are going to have to tweak it to your liking. So on this content wrap, I'm just setting the view height and view width to 100 each. So we're just using view width, 100 view width, and height 100 view height, I believe that is, or viewport height or viewport width, whatever. And on the padding, we want to affect all the elements in here to be pushed down and pushed up 140 pixels, but none on the sides. That's just to give us space to put this button here. Like I said, we don't have this button inside of this content wrap div, so we got to have some way to position it around, and that's what this button class is for. And then we just added transition all, and the reason we did that is when this if you know how transitions work in CSS, when you have a value that goes from, like, for example, 0 to 10, it's going to go increment in increments of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And when you want to do things in a linear or something like that fashion, for example, like the ease in and ease out for the transition, that's a way to animate it to make it look nicer. So it's going to ease in and then ease out. So the reason we're using this transition is because on the blur effect, we're going from 0 blur to 2 blur. And this transition all allows us, as we're blurring things out or adding other transitions, to transition it a little bit easier. So if you look how it just kind of easily fades in there, but now if we take it away, it's a little more harsh. So that's what the transition is for. And then this background stuff, I just got this background off Unsplash and just threw it in the back, made it cover, no repeat, and centered it. Nothing too fancy there. This paragraph, nothing special about it. We're just setting a background color, border radius, setting a max width, line height, centering it, padding, and then adding a little border. Yeah, nothing too special there, so we can go ahead and skip on that. Now this next thing is the button. That's this part right here. Now this is kind of a little bit more important. Like I said, we do need to position this in such a way and to keep it from kind of messing up as it scales up. So we're going to position it absolute, so we can position it absolutely anywhere on the page. I'll actually move this now. So I'm just doing left 41% just because it looks best when it's on this screen. We're doing top of 50 pixels to keep it off the top of the 50 pixels, and I think also somewhere over, yeah, this 140 pixels is what pushes this this content down. So, and it's not affecting the button at all because it's absolutely placed. So yeah, the Z index is just to help out as it scales up. If I didn't have that, it would kind of work a little funky. It wouldn't really. That's strange. Hasn't done that yet. That's weird. It hasn't done that yet. Surprisingly, actually. Oh well. You just need that Z index just so weird stuff doesn't happen. We're doing another transition. Same reason for up here, just as so when it scales up, it just eases in and eases out. But if we take it away, you can see it's a little more rough. And then the rest of this is just styling of it. The color and padding and border radius and font size and whatnot. So now onto the juicy part. Now this part's a little confusing. Like when you're writing it, you're like, oh yeah, I know what to do, blah 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 blah. But I'm going to go ahead and space this out a little bit better for you so we can read it on screen. So pretty much what we're doing here is we're using Jquery to target this click button. You could also, if you really wanted, you could just do button and get rid of that ID, but everywhere else where it says like click, you'd have to change that to the button. But I'm just gonna leave it click because I think it's a little bit easier for me to remember. And I know it's hover, but originally I did have this as a click, and it does work either way. So you can either have it as a click or a hover, whichever one floats your boat. So look at this button with the ID of click, and whenever someone hovers over it, we want to run a function. And in this function, we're saying if the content wrapper has a class of blurred, which I'm not styling, I'm not doing anything with, it's more of just kind of a placeholder to allow me to know what's going on with this content wrapper. What state is it in? So that's allowing me to do that. And then we're saying, okay, so if it has the class of blurred, we want to remove it at this point. So we're going to say, okay, just set all the filters to 0 and remove the class of blurred so we can reset it. So that's pretty much what that's doing, is that's resetting the content wrapper back to no blur, which may be confusing. So if it has the class of blurred, we need to remove it with the if. I know it may be confusing for some people, but it's kind of just the logical thinking of JavaScript. Well, for anything really. But so we're going to remove that class of blurred, and then on this button we need to transform the scale back to 1. Now you may be asking, wait, wouldn't the scale be 0? Well, no, because if we scaled it down to 0, watch what happens. Which I didn't know that at first, I'm not going to lie. And because I've never messed with scale, but I don't know why I didn't think of it. I was like, wait, scale to 0, that's not right. It's supposed to be scale to 1. 1-to-1 scale. So yeah, so we're just saying, okay, transform that, put it back to 1, just put it back to normal, screw it. We don't want the effects anymore, you know. And then you, like, with that animation from the CSS, it just, or the transition, it just makes it look all nice and pretty. So yeah, so in this else condition, what we're doing is we're doing the exact opposite, which obviously. So we're saying, okay, if this content wrapper doesn't have a class of blurred, just go ahead and throw that class on there so we know that it's in the blurred state. And then we want to blur it 2 pixels. Now this is where you would want to affect how many pixels it's blurred. Actually, I think I just need to do the WebKit one because I'm in Google Chrome. So for example, if you wanted 12 pixels, now I will tell you, you can see that's extremely blurred. But on some browsers and things, and some computers, that can be very, very performance unfriendly. So I believe 2 pixels is pretty friendly for it, just because it doesn't really slow down the transitions or anything like that. Because I have experienced things where like if I was on my friend's computer and it wasn't as good, like, I mean, I'm just on a laptop, but if it was a little bit older, if I had something blurring out through CSS, it wasn't as good. So on this, then after we add that class of blurred so we know what state it's in, we're going to go ahead and scale this button up to 2. So we're going to scale it up 2, pretty much is how that goes. So like if we were to scale this up to 5, this is insane. Let it refresh. Look how big that is. That, I honestly kind of like that, but I would not use that. I just think that's kind of cool. So yeah, that's pretty much the jQuery. So to recap all of that, we're just saying, okay, if it has a class of blurred, let's go ahead and remove all the effects, put it back to normal, and then, but if it does have the class of blurred, let's go ahead and make sure, like, we want to make sure we add it, we want to blur out the background, we want to scale this up and things like that. So yeah, so this is actually, like, it is kind of ready to be used straight out of the box. The jQuery is, but the positioning and CSS and how you lay everything out is more up to you. This can be pretty hard at times. You will have to think about it, I won't lie. I mean, anybody could really do it if they wanted, but it's more or less the fact that you are going to have to think about where you're going to position these elements and things like that, also to help with your responsive design. If you're using responsive design, and you want to make sure that you do have this, like if you're blurring out certain content and you want your button to be somewhere, you do want to make sure you place this button in the correct place so it doesn't get messed up, and you know, apply your own styles to it to make it a little bit easier to use. For example, like a better styling or position, a way you position it on the screen. Like if I really wanted to, you know, I could make this a lot better, but you know, this is good for a demo. So yeah, so you guys can actually find the link to Unicast. I recommend you guys go signing up. I will be on the site helping out, you know, answering questions.